Perfect. We'll let that.
Plug in and you can start. You don't mind.
Yes.
Yeah. It's usually cold.
Yeah. I put on his and I'm pretty sure when I use. Oh, Grant, how are you? Good. Yeah.
And now what I was.
Yep. Let's bring it.
I haven't seen the last yet.
But yeah,
Is he leading?
he usually does, but I don't see him here tonight. He probably doesn't realize it's tonight. My bad.
Probably.
I didn't think he's ready. He's gonna be so happy on Wednesday. Okay, we are back in an open session and the time is 7:09 PM. We will start with a pledge of allegiance. If you would please stand. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all very much for being here. I just want to put in one small plug on Friday morning at 9 AM. the city will be placing flags at the cemetery on those headstones of those who have served our country. And we are very open to having volunteers come and help place those flags. There'll be maps and the flags, and you can place those. It actually is a very humbling experience. So if anybody is available Friday at 9 a.m., we would greatly appreciate your help. We will start our meeting with public comment. The floor is open to the public to bring their concerns to the council.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Kevin Casey, concerned citizen. I want to speak directly to the process being used around this budget and proposed property tax increase. The issue is not just the budget and tax increase. The issue is how this process is being manipulated. Grantsville City's own website says regular city council meetings are normally held on the first and third Wednesdays at 7 p.m. unless otherwise noticed. May 20th was the normal third Wednesday meeting date. Instead, this meeting was rescheduled to tonight. The Utah Public Notice website shows the rescheduled meeting notice, agenda, council packet, and property tax impact materials were not posted until after 7 p.m. on Friday, May 15th. So residents were given a Friday night posting, a weekend review window, and then a Monday evening meeting on a major budget and property tax issue. That may satisfy the bare minimum legal notice requirement, but minimum legal notice is not the same thing as meaningful public notice. This bureaucratic statutory gamesmanship at its finest. And the substance is just as troubling. The agenda says the FY27 budget discussion is a discussion item only with no action and no public comment during that item. But immediately after that, the agenda includes presentation of the proposed property tax impact schedule and consideration of Resolution 2026-37, declaring the city's intent to consider increasing property tax revenue above the certified tax rate for fiscal year 27. But the FY27 tentative budget already appears to include the proposed property tax increase. The FY26 approved budget shows a current property tax revenue at about $2.08 million. The FY27 tentative budget shows current property tax revenue at about $3.83. That is roughly an 84% increase, already sitting in the revenue column before the residents have had the final truth and taxation hearing. Coincidence? So residents are not being handed a clean public question. They're being handed a budget already built around the answer the City Hall wants. The bureaucracy baked it in. The council is expected to move the machinery forward. The taxpayers are expected to fund it. That's backwards. A responsible budget would start with the certified tax rate. It would show residents what the city can afford with the money it already receives. Then if the city wants more, it should justify every additional dollar separately. Instead, this budget starts with the appetite and then asks us, the taxpayers, to feed it. I'm asking the council not to reward this process or this behavior. Do not move this forward as though Friday night posting, a weekend notice, a no comment budget discussion, and an already inflated revenue column are enough for a major property tax increase. Slow it down. Show the certified tax rate version of the budget. Show the version with the proposed tax increase. Show exactly what was cut, what was frozen, what was reduced, and what was rejected before asking residents for more money. Because this is not just about whether the city can legally notice a meeting. It's about whether residents are being given a meaningful chance to understand, question, and challenge the budget before the machinery is already in motion. Minimum compliance is not transparency. And residents should not be treated like an afterthought in a process they're being asked to fund. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional public comments? And please state your name.
I'm Michelle Marriott. I would just like to read the letter that I emailed y'all earlier today. This letter is to express concerns regarding the rezoning and general plan amendments for the parcels for that Wellington subdivision, which I don't know the agenda numbers on the. We're concerned about this and other properties looking to be changed to higher density zoning. Growth is inevitable, but it must be approached thoughtfully and responsibly to preserve the livability, infrastructure, and the values of the people that live in our town. The council has already approved many high-density lots and homes. Expanding beyond these limits places unnecessary strain on services such as roads, schools, emergency services, and most importantly, water. Many of the residents here are already feeling the impact of rapid growth beyond what we feel is reasonable. Slowing down the growth is not opposing growth altogether, but we do not feel like we need to double the size of these subdivisions by changing the existing zoning. At the planning and zoning meeting regarding these same items, the developer proposed a subdivision of the proposed subdivision, got up and explained why doubling the density of the current zoning made sense for affordability. He explained that the quarter-acre lot saves an average of $80,000 on each home, making it more attainable to people. But we'd like to point out that a $750,000 home is not affordable housing. So we do not need to use that kind of verbiage. We would also like to bring to the council's attention that saving $80,000 is where the developers are at. They could bring the square footage of each home down by 500 square feet at a very conservative $150 a square foot, would save that same $80,000 and give each homeowner a half acre of land instead. People aren't moving to Grantsville to be crammed into tiny lots. They're coming out here for a slower pace, neighbors who care, and a little space to stretch out. If you talk to people who've recently moved here, that's why they came, not because it's affordable, because we've moved way past being affordable with all the development that's already been allowed. Now we can discuss water needed for these homes. I don't know how there's enough water shares of Grantsville irrigation to support this kind of growth, not to mention drinking water. Does every home in these developments need one share of irrigation water? And how many shares do the green spaces need? If you listen to the residents of Grantsville City and not to the developers who don't even live here, you will hear that most of us do not want these high-density housing developments. We can make our community nice with bigger lots and smaller houses. We owe nothing to these developers who just want to sell the most homes and then move on to the next development. Let's try not to turn Grantsville into Daybreak. Those of us who currently live here do not want to live in a busy city. We like the rural feel of our town. We're not against growth, but we're against growing too big too fast. This is not resisting change altogether. It's ensuring that our growth is aligned with both infrastructure and the desires of our community. There is no reason we need to double our population in a brief time instead of making conscious decisions about our future. The council has already approved high-density areas more high-density areas than the residents are comfortable with, but they slid by because we've all been asleep. We assumed that the council had our best interest in mind when they made these decisions and how we feel as a community, but now we can see where we're headed and we're concerned and we're awake. We're respectfully urging the council to adhere to the existing general plan and zoning, reconsider or limit high-density housing proposals, evaluate the current and future infrastructure capacity before approving additional development, and prioritize policies that protect and preserve the rural character of our community. Thank you. And it was signed by, I put this on Monday morning because it was for the first time this was planned, and we had 200 and some odd signatures in like 48 hours. So people are concerned. They're tired of the high density stuff.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other comments?
Hello.
Grant?
Hi, good to see you all. Appreciate the time. I know there's a lot of important things going on and just
Will
want
you
to
state your name though, just for the
Yes,
record?
my name is Grantsville, Public Health Director for Tooele County, and appreciate working with Brittany Skinner on our Board of Health. I had presented about a survey opportunity and something that Utah State University's Dr. Courtney Flint has led for a number of years and encouraged cities and towns in our county to consider participating in the survey. It's something that they say, you know, the way they describe it is can help residents kind of inform the planning process around health issues and make those decisions. And it's a survey that takes about 10 minutes. And a few reasons I was impressed with it is it not only has people rate what their personal well-being is, their emotional well-being is, but also a variety of other topics so we can see what is it that's not only influencing well-being, but what aspects of those well-being are most important to our citizens. So for example, Draper, they rated living standards being high, but also that being important to them. At the same time, local environmental quality, they rated as low and very important compared to something like cultural opportunities as low, but not as important. So it's again, if you can take a look at those, how the rating for that well-being versus how important it is overall for the community can really help us decide, you know, from a health department perspective, which of our programs should we really emphasize or maybe seek more funding for? And then as a council, you can decide what local activities, events, community things are really most important to the community and should be priorities now versus later. Other things are really helpful too. It has shown that recreation is associated with higher levels of community connection. Community connection, you might know, because of the previous Surgeon General has highlighted, we have an epidemic of disconnection and loneliness. And so community events, walking, biking, a whole list of things have been related to that community connection. Generally, we know that, but it's nice to also document it too, right? To quantify that. So they ask questions as well about, like I said, well-being domains, recreation, travel barriers, population and economic growth perceptions. Those are rating based. They rate on a scale, but then also ask some open-ended questions. And they've noted that usually 60 to 70% of responses have those. Things like what can be done to improve support or opportunities for individuals with disabilities in our city? Are there any aspects of the local economy you would like to see change in the next 5 years? Any aspects of local environmental quality that you feel pose a significant threat to well-being? Again, these are things where we might see the rating here or there, but then what is that? So Draper, it ended up being related to dust from some of the gravel pits. And so it's something that each community can say, oh, what is it that's really influencing high, low ratings? And again, how can we prioritize our limited resources to help benefit physical and emotional well-being of our communities? I do have some flyers for that. It is one version is specific to Grantsville, and we have 4 other cities and towns in Tooele County that have signed up as well. And we have distinct but overlapping surveys for each one. So you'll get a distinct report for yours. Dr. Flint's able to come and give a formal presentation to you when that's done. It will close first week of June. So we just have this little window to participate. So
Okay.
I have some copies for you.
This is
Yep.
available, would you just state for the public where they would find this?
So we'll have this posted tomorrow on our website, health.tooeleco.gov. And if you can hear this real quick, tinyurl.com/Grantsville 2026. That's on the recording. I do have those flyers too.
This
Okay.
is
With the QR
also on our Facebook.
Oh, yeah,
thank
It's
you.
been shared.
And I
Oh.
think we were putting on our website too, where yes, I think we did
Thanks
put it on
for
the
that.
website too.
Yep.
On Grantsville City.
Dr.
website.
Flint did give you kudos. You're the last to sign up, but now you have the highest number of responses, about 76 as of 2 hours ago.
Go
Wow.
Grantsville.
So yeah. Minimum goal was about 50 to have a really robust report. But again, of course, the more the merrier, the better the report. And yeah, that's some highlights again. So thanks again,
Thank
Brittany,
you
and
very
everyone for
much,
your
Grant.
support.
Okay,
Thanks for your time.
appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Joanne Jacobs, and I work in real estate a lot. I talk to a lot of government people. They have typically an attitude that citizens are kind of whining and complaining and kicking about things like this in private. But please consider this. You have a time in history where our incomes for a lot of people are barely covering the necessities of life. And to go and double the freaking taxes on people's homes, the place they need to raise their family safely, the place where their children sleep at night, to just price them out of being able to be in home ownership with taxes this high, this is insane. I can't even imagine most people being able to afford this type of tax hike on their property. I mean, please, seriously, think about this. A lot of people are barely getting by.
Thank you. Additional comments?
I'm Marla Spencer. I sent a letter in, so I'm not going to reread it, in opposition to the Wellstone subdivision. I think most of you were here when we put the master plan into effect and how long it took us to do the master plan when we did that. It took months and a lot of money, to do that. And there was a reason that anything south of Derby Street was a half acre. There's a reason for that. The streets, we don't have the streets that are available to take in another 400 homes or however many on 140 acres. We don't have the sewer, and the water, as she stated, is a real concern. Water shares, when we came out a long time ago, it was $200,000 or 200,000 per share that we had, 200,000 gallons per share. This year, it's 50,000. So you take that and they say, yes, we have water shares. That's great, but a water share is only as good as the water that we have. And right now, this year, we may make it, but I don't know about next year if we don't get any. So I would like you to consider that. And again, the time and effort and the money that was put into the master plan was pretty amazing. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm definitely not a public speaker. My name's Jeremy Ben Dixon. And first of all, I just want to thank y'all for doing this oftentimes thankless job. You only hear from us when we're mad or frustrated. And I think a lot of the citizens are feeling that way right now. Speak for myself, I am. Wanted to thank you guys for taking into consideration the inspector for the water treatment plant, sewer treatment plant, and going with the one that was approximately $90,000 cheaper, that scored almost identical. Personally, those are the reasons why I hired you guys, why I voted for you guys to be in here, is to look out for the best interest of us. We want, we want a good quality inspector, but we want to be responsible with the money, so that we're not in these binds. And thank you for doing that. As I listened to that night, I see no reason why we wouldn't do that. So thank you for bringing that up and making that happen. 84% for a tax increase. I know you're gonna hear it over and over again, just get beat down, but that's pretty ridiculous. I know there's been some proposals of a 5% over 5 years. It's a lot more reasonable. Obviously, we got to the point where we are by not increasing taxes, I think, for approximately 17 years, which we probably do need to do some increases. But I think we need to consider that before we're doing all the spending of such 20 million for a park that, in my opinion, would have been better off spent on our water treatment plant, reduce the prices of that now is going to require additional workers to maintain and keep that up. Everybody has to use the restroom. A lot of us don't use the parks. They're nice, but not a necessity. This one too, I know it's going to be a thorn in our side for a long time, the 500,000 for Solberg's. I don't know exactly. I know you guys were on the board or in office when that decision was made. 100% disagree with it. The prices and everything goes on the citizens to cover those impacts. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty sure they make a lot more money than I do a year. I'm just going to ask you to, put the brakes on spending. And I mean, for my own bills, if I overspend, I don't go to work and say, hey, I need a raise. Give me more money. I've overspent. I need you to pay me more. You're going to say you're crazy. And I think if we look at our budget similar to the way we do ours at home, it could be a little bit better off. And, if the city employees are putting forth these budgets that are kind of crazy and overrated, this is where I hope that you guys will step in and do some of these considerations to cut the spending, get things under control, take care of our needs, and then we can start going after wants after that. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone online that would like to make a comment?
We do have Lisa.
Okay,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay, Lisa Lingwall, and I live on 189 East, Elizabeth Cove. So my backyard actually coincides with Quirk and Pear, where the new Wellington subdivision is going. And I just want to, first of all, I want to reiterate everything that everyone has said about the tax hike. I don't know how anybody is okay with this, and how you as a council thinks that as a community we can all pay these extra fees that are so ridiculous. And second of all, as far as the Wellington community goes, I don't understand why this would even be considered when, the developer could have gone and bought a community or a development area where it didn't have half-acre lots, where it had 1/3 to 1/4 acre lots. Because I know that there's there's those areas out there. And so I'm really begging you to not, because this will directly impact the traffic on Quirk, and the infrastructure is just not there. Water is not there. And I just want to really strongly let you know how against this we as a community, and I've heard it from everyone around, that we are about changing the zoning on this. And that's pretty much everything I have to say.
Thank you. Additional online comments, Alicia?
Nobody yet, but do you want to remind them?
Yes, if you are online and you would like to make a comment, please raise your hand. Anybody else here in the audience that would like to speak?
Hello, been a while, Michael Van Wyck. So I've been out of the scene, trying to venture out doing my own thing for a while, but I remember the last time I was in this building, this council room, with the budget and all the other stuff going on. I really ask you council to take a look on what's on the books right now and what kind of promises have been offered to developers and what have you coming in. Because I know for a fact this city has been stuck with over $5 to $6 million worth of deficit over promises and stuff that the developers were supposed to pay for. Prime example, the $3.5 million water tank going in up on North Star. Back in, I think it was 21, 22, the past mayor and Ivory Development had an agreement where if they couldn't pass health safety, that they were supposed to be paying for that tank. I don't think anybody ever did any research. I brought it up one night and I did the research. I had all the record and everything else. Well, a week later it was passed. There again, scenic slopes. I know that's very true, dear to your heart, Heidi, but we got stuck with that as a city because we was not holding these developers accountable, either through the impact fees or through the promises or the watchdog groups of watching when one land gets sold from one developer to another. You know exactly what happened with that. You look at the past history, everybody, with the exception of a few, have been here for over 2 years and know the history on what's been happening with the developers and the city. I don't think it's fair that the city coming in and asking for more rates on taxes when it's our own stupidity for being, know what I'm trying to say, by these developers. They sell out, somebody else comes through, we're understaffed there for a while. We didn't have a city manager, we didn't have a city attorney, and we got railroad. Please, I guess that's all I'm asking is please have the due diligence and say, wait, we're being screwed by these developers. I know, right? And you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. There's $5 to $7 million that could have been in this city's budget, but we got stuck paying for. And now we've got to ask for a rate increase. I don't think that's fair. So please look at what is back there and what these developers are doing to us. Waiving impact fees. It's not fair to us residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Brittany Coble, resident, living here 12 years, single mom. All these tax increases and bills that keep going up and groceries going up and gas going up and all the things, it makes it real hard to live day by day. I'm on a fixed income. I have 2 jobs, 2 kids. I've got a house to take care of and I do it all by myself. And I've done everything that I can to help relieve the pressure of these bills. And on Friday, when I saw this come out about the tax increase, I about had a heart attack. I'm like, what am I gonna do? I can't afford that. Most people with my same income in the same situation, the same type of house, they can't afford it either. Just having conversations with neighbors and friends in the community, it's not feasible for anybody. I understand that we're growing and that definitely needs to be controlled. Changing zoning from half acres to quarter acres is just dumb. Don't do it. We can't afford it as a city, just as everybody else has said. It's just, we can't live like this. Things have to be better. We need more information. We need to be considered more, and it's just not, like that gentleman said, it's not fair. It's not fair to us who live and break our backs day in and day out. I don't make money like you guys. My job is quite similar, but I don't make that money. I can't just go and ask for it. I don't have an education aside from a high school diploma. I've taken online courses and done night schools. But I don't have a diploma in a college. I can't ask for over 100,000. I'm not gonna get it. So it's just not fair. So I'm asking, please, just as everyone else has asked, consider us little people that are stuck. Don't tax us out of our homes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any additional comments? Anyone else online?
We do have Rick.
Okay.
Hello, Rick Barchers here. Can you hear me? You good?
Yes.
Perfect. Hey, I don't know what the statistics are for every one person that writes in, 20 people or something wanted to but didn't or something like that. I mean, I don't know, right? I'm no expert on that, but I want you to think about all the people who showed up tonight, all the people who showed up to speak, and how many people wished they had. Okay. Then I want you to think about our general plan and the process that we went through in the land use part of it in particular. There were hundreds of people who showed up and participated in the land use plan. Try to picture not just them, but all the other people that wished they could have made it to those meetings standing in that room right now. I mean, it should almost be intimidating to you. And it's something that a lot of people are very passionate about. And I hope that you really consider before changing our general plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, Alicia? No? Anyone else in the audience? All right, we will close the public comment. And move on to item number 3, the approval of the minutes from the May 1st, 2026 City Council Special Work Meeting.
You can do all 3 of these together.
Okay, and we'll add approval of minutes from the May 6th, 2026 regular City Council meeting and approval of minutes from the May 11th, 2026 City Council Special Work Meeting. Does anybody have any concerns or questions on those minutes?
Mayor, I make a motion, we move to approve the minutes from the May 1st, 2026 City Council Special Work Meeting and the May 6th, 2026 regular City Council meeting and the May 11th, 2026 City Council Special Work Meeting.
We have a motion by Councilmember Thomas. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
A second by Councilmember Skinner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next item D is the approval of the bills. Any comments or questions on the bills? Need a motion?
Mayor, I motion that we approve the bills as presented to us for the agenda.
We have a motion by Councilmember Skinner to approve the bills. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second by Councilmember Williams. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We will move on to item number 4. Which is a council appeal decision, consideration of resolution 2026-15, approving a driveway deviation for property located at 175 North Hatchet Ranch Drive. And this will be presented by Barry Bunderson, our city engineer.
Good evening. I'm hoping that you have read some of the minutes, but because this is a project that or a application that I haven't been super involved with, but I've reviewed briefly. And so in a nutshell, a driveway and a half a cul-de-sac was widened out without a permit. That was noticed, and violation notifications have been sent out, and the homeowner there has met with city staff and talked about some of the things that we're requesting and to be done. There's violations just in the driveway width, in proximity to a fire hydrant. And this is all done without permit, without review, without oversight from the city, and just protecting the overall public and meeting our design standards. So I don't know if you have any specific questions that we should get into about this, or any thoughts that can help with.
Yeah, I have one question. I know we've had more than one of these recently. What do we, I'm trying to think of more of a proactive approach. Do we have anything out there that states, obviously, curbs shouldn't be cut without approval? It seems like I'm just trying to get on the preventative side of, providing proper notice to, and then obviously like those curb cut companies that are coming in, they should be working off of a permit if they're working inside the city and not just going and cutting a city product and making it whatever they feel they want it to be. I'm just trying to think.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Out in front.
I think getting information out to the public is the cheapest form of dealing with these kinds of things. And so, I mean, we can get with the other staff members and just see if we can, post notices on our website, and I don't know if there's anything when, with the building process that could catch it up front, but when somebody sells a home, now it's just kind of lost in the depth of paperwork or, public information. But I don't know, it is a good option to kind of help educate people, both contractors and homeowners, about whose infrastructure these are. They're collectively the public's, and that they're put in place in certain conditions for the general public's welfare and being and safety. And so when they go against some of those design standards, it can be problematic. So we can work on some solutions to be more proactive about noticing residents of, it's in the code, but some people don't even know where to find that. So
As far as the fire hydrant here, is this gonna be a problem for first responders getting to the house?
yeah, so typically, you're not supposed to park within 15 feet of a hydrant. And so I think part of the consideration is that the curb and gutter would be replaced, so that it can't be accessed and be maybe parked on or problematic within that 15-foot dimension.
Okay, so that would cover that.
Yeah, and that would put it pretty close to where in this photo you can see the edge of their driveway that goes to their garage. It would be in that close proximity to that kind of line. So we're asking that they remove what's been cut and install new curb and gutter to that point with, the appropriate apron kind of flares.
Because it does appear that they've cut right through the red paint.
Definitely. We have ordinances about from a property line, there needs to be a certain distance, 10 feet from the property line for any driveway. And so that's a consideration, but I think the governing criteria is the fire hydrant distance.
Mayor, if I may, I don't know if you can hear me all right.
Yes, thank you, Bill.
Just really quick, there was a question about getting information out there. We are working with, I think it's Alicia that puts out the newsletter, but with whoever puts out the newsletter to get a code enforcement corner or something like that, so that we address some of these topics on a more regular basis and try to be more proactive that way about getting word out. And like Barry pointed out, many people may not even know where to go to find the code. And it's not necessarily easy reading, even if you did find it. So the idea would be to put staff contact information there, as well as a link to the code itself, so that people could have that, and then highlight a certain section of the code like this, where we're seeing compliance questions or concerns.
Okay, thank you, Bill. I think that'll be a great addition to the newsletter. And a great way to get some information out to our residents.
So I think one thing to point out is there's been notices sent out, certified mail, right? And there just hasn't been any action on a resolution for what should be done here. So, yeah.
I feel like they should replace that curb back to at least the straight point where their driveway is. I know that that's probably wider than what we would typically allow. But it would make sense to me that the start of that flare, if that's lined up with that right-hand side as you're looking at it, the side of the driveway, that'll replace probably what, 10 or 12 feet of curb. Like it is right now is completely unacceptable. So
yeah,
needs to be replaced and moved back.
And this is information on a site plan. I think that the actual cut of the curb and gutter is approximately 22 feet. The driveway is larger than that, close to the 30-foot that we would is our maximum per ordinance. And so both the 15 feet and the 30 feet are matching up close to that line. And so I think that would match everything else that we're kind of hoping to get. So get everywhere else, not just here.
Have they pulled a permit to do any sort of detached ADU onto the side of that property there? Is that, I mean, it seems like to me that's their intent.
I'm not aware of any such permit myself, but I would say that this isn't for that necessarily. This is just for access to the side yard, and we don't require permits for flat work. So if you wanted to pour an extension to his driveway or a parking pad for an RV or something like that, we wouldn't necessarily require a permit for that.
Any other comments on this?
So just so I can clarify what we're saying, they have to replace the curb and gutter to the standard, the city standards.
So
Essentially by the fire hydrant.
So they've asked for a variance to what we're saying they need to do. And so I think it's coming to you, and you guys have the latitude, if I'm not misspeaking, to decide what is in the best interest of the public and the residents that are in this neighborhood. But as staff, we're saying there are these background sort of considerations from fire department, public safety, and just, you know, consistency of practice in our city. And so consider those as you need and ask questions. But what we're recommending is that they go.
Asking a lot of questions, but the deviance is as they want to keep it as is and not replace the curb. Okay,
correct.
I just want to make sure I understand. That, like, to me, that's too close to the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
And so that's a safety issue.
Mayor, I make a motion that we deny resolution 2026-15 as presented and instruct the homeowner to replace the curb back to really the line of their existing driveway. And that the bottom of the cut starts at that and then can flare to the right there. Just replace that, what is it, about 12 feet of curb, essentially. That's my motion. I think Barry can work with him on that. You understand what I'm saying, right?
Yep, definitely.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Butler. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Councilmember Skinner. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. Item number 5, discussion and council direction of the townhomes on Willow sidewalks.
So
Got you
I'll
again,
stay here
Barry.
for this one.
Okay.
I have been texting with GTM Sean Holste. There's miscommunication with the move of the meeting, and anyway, he's not able to join us, but he said to go ahead. I don't know if that's information that needs to be is pertinent here, but I can show you my text if you want. And you don't have anything to present. I can get a laptop if we've talked about this before. Do we need to bring up any documents or anything else?
I don't think so. I've walked up and down that road
Yeah.
like 15 times in the last couple of weeks, so.
Yeah, I've driven it. I already know what I want to do. I think it needs to be widened. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind.
Okay,
Yeah, my thoughts are, I mean, obviously to keep the area in front of the townhomes as drawn would be my recommendation, to keep the road at its intended width for future. And then in front of those homes, and I met with all 3 of those homeowners. And so hopefully this is what I told them I would present and had conversations with them specifically. But that we make up the width by reducing the park strip somewhere between a foot and reducing the sidewalk, the sidewalk in that area to a foot as well, so that we don't encroach upon those existing homes on the north side, on the south side, excuse me, of that development. Along with that,
You mean the west?
the south, so the 3 homes.
south of the
homes to
townhome
south.
project, I think.
Oh,
Is that-
okay, I'm
On the
sorry.
west side of the street,
Okay.
because they have existing yards. There's also existing infrastructure that if we go to the plan, we're gonna be going right through a CT, that's not the right, transformer box. I'm looking at him because he's an electrician. So, so that we would make it up in the sidewalk and the park strip in that location. And then in that area, if they would agree to it, we would do a roll curb and the modified curb as was presented in the last meeting, and do the modified curb up to the subdivision and then go high back through the subdivision as it's drawn. And so Holste's wouldn't change at all. So it would just be modification to help those homeowners deal with height and deal with impacts to their landscape and infrastructure that they already have in. That's my recommendation.
Can I just restate what I think I heard you say? So the park strip width would go from 3.5, in front of these 3 homes, from 3.5 feet down to 1.5?
1.5.
Okay, and then the back of the sidewalk would shrink towards the middle of the street by 1 foot, so it would be now a 4-foot wide sidewalk?
Correct.
Okay. And, you know, this is your sort of call. I would say that AASHTO guidelines for park strip recommends a 2-foot minimum. And then if they get close to the back of curb, then they recommend a wider sidewalk. So anyway, if there's any wiggle to get within AASHTO 2 feet, that sort of aligns. If not, then
I would agree with that.
okay.
I mean, we have a 4-foot sidewalk on the other side, right? So sidewalk width, I do understand the nature of what we have there. We have a school that's close by, but I also think maintaining the width of that roadway as it was originally intended, we need to try to maintain
Okay.
for future.
And then if I may, with the mountable curb, potentially the increase of an errant driver, that bump is going to be felt, but maybe not as abruptly or even deterrent with more of a straight edge from somebody that's on a sidewalk that, you know, could be walking to school or whatever. We're narrowing up that with that sort of buffering by narrowing the park strip, and by doing more of a mountable curb, it reduces to some level, you know, that alert that, hey, I'm getting off the road.
Mhm.
And then other drainage things, but just so it's all what the implications mean, and then
Would that just be for
So-
those 3 homes that Jake, is that what you're, those 3 homes that are to the
To the south.
to the south of
Mhm.
of
The 3
townhomes?
existing homes.
Okay.
So that curb has a 2-inch? Or is it 3 inches? Or
It's
what is that
actually-
modified curb?
yeah, it's a 2-inch.
2-inch?
From the front part closest to the middle of the road, concrete, to the back, it's like 2 inches.
And
And
the concern I had, obviously that concern, I appreciate you bringing it up. The other concern is water intrusion. You know, and I did have that conversation with all 3 residents. You know, that if we went that direction, we would want to hold harmless, or I don't foresee that being an issue in that location due to it being at the top of the roadway. But
And then forgive me if I'm overdoing it here, I don't want to, but, so the difference, like you said, we got like a 2-inch height from the front of the curb to the back on a modified, and it's 4 inches on a standard curb and gutter, because there's a depression in between, right? And so, just so the residents know, what you're trading is 2 inches in height for that rolled curb with some help from width. And do you want to drive over the road for the rest of the time that you live there?
Anyone else have any
I'm-
thoughts?
I feel like I've walked that a million times too. I got my steps in for the year, but I'm with Jake on this, on it. I would just add too, after talking to homeowners, that some of them have existing, wider driveways than what's in there. And those were in there, a long time ago. I would suggest that that's where the curb comes up. We let them keep their driveways, what they have, even the extended ones, and go that route. So like the Ericksons could keep their little side piece, and I think the Eakins have it as well too. So I would just add that, but I agree. I'm with Jake after walking all of it, and I'm with, 100% what Jake just suggested.
Jeff? any
Amen.
comments?
Thank you.
All right, somebody want to make a motion?
Is this something for both?
It was just a discussion.
Oh, it is just a
Direction.
discussion. It's direction. You're directed.
Okay,
All right,
I believe I understand. If I may, just recap one more time.
please.
yes, please.
So instead of a high back curb and gutter, we'll go to a rolled gutter, keep it where it is in front of these 3 homes. Shrink the park strip to 2 feet and shrink the sidewalk to 4 feet. And then that will leave the extra against the homes.
And then when we hit that new parcel, everything is per
Per
plan.
plan.
High back, the widened roadway,
Okay.
et cetera. Sidewalk width widened as well.
Okay, everything per plan there.
Let them match their existing driveways.
Yep.
Right.
Well, because it's a rolled, there's no definition of the width there, so.
That's right.
And then if we can just make sure that the general contractor works with those homeowners to, when he's gonna do that, when he's gonna be impacting in front of their homes so that they can plan accordingly, I think would be something that if we could just request him to do.
Yeah.
We'd appreciate it.
We'll definitely remind him. I think he's good for that. He has an interest in helping that go smoothly, so thank you. Okay,
All right, thank you, Barry. All right, item number 6, consideration of ordinance 2026-21, amending the fee schedule to add code enforcement fees related to nuisance abatement, civil citations, and administrative costs.
Good evening. Tyson Barker, City Attorney, just on this item for the code enforcement fees and related to nuisance abatement, civil citations, and administrative costs. We have in both our land use and muni code, we've got some fees that are kind of interspersed throughout the body of those codes. And what we'd like to do is kind of a larger project than what item number 6 would allow. So my recommendation on this is to table this item, and then we'll come back with a more robust, more generalized language in our muni code, pointing citizens to a very detailed fee schedule so that it's easy to find, easy to interpret. There's no more hunting for fees within the larger text. It may take a couple of meetings until we get to that point. It's kind of a large project, but this is sort of a small fix to a larger problem, and I think that we could probably accomplish more with a table on this.
Would somebody like to table this item?
Mayor, I make a motion, we table ordinance 2026-21.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Butler and a second by Councilmember Dalton. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we will table that item. Moving on to item number 7. Item number 7 is a public hearing item. It is the consideration of ordinance 2026-19 approving a general plan amendment for the Wellstone subdivision. So the way this will work is, I know some of you have already commented on this, but we will have a presentation and a discussion, and then we will open it back up for comments if you feel they are needed. And then we will continue on with a motion. So it appears that Barry will be presenting this as well. Is that correct?
I'm here and available for comments
Just
and
kidding,
questions.
Barry, you got saved. All right, so Bill will present this.
So I think we're all aware of this in general terms, and so I won't go into that kind of thing. I think it's important to realize that, or to remember that the Planning Commission discussed this item in a similar public hearing a few weeks ago and voted to recommend denial of this request as well as the next agenda item. I don't have much more to say than that, honestly. This is, I think, a known question and a known item, so I won't go into the details, but the general plan currently says that this area should remain low density, and that's the request that is being brought to you, is to change that. I would say that changing a general plan is a very serious thing, is something that should be very carefully considered and not just done on a whim or because someone asks for such a thing. The general plan reflects the will of the people as adopted by the city council. And after having gone through significant public comment and other meetings where we took comments and other concerns and thoughts and ideas about this property and the city in general, this is a reflection of that in the general plan itself. And so it shouldn't be done just because it's the thing to do or whatever. This is a very serious matter, and it should be given weighty consideration. In fact, in my career, I've learned that there are really only 2 times when you should consider a general plan amendment such as this. And it's if there was a mistake that was made, either a clerical error or some other concern that slipped through, or if the morals and values and concerns of the community have changed significantly in the interim period, meaning that something significant has changed in the world or in the community, that this is no longer a desirable future land use. and that's for you to decide. This is a legislative item. And so the consideration is not so much some of the details about is there enough water or is there enough transportation or is there sufficient things like that. This is really, you're asking two questions. Is this the right time for this kind of consideration, or is this the right place? And this is actually for both items, for the future land use map amendment as well as for the zoning map change, the rezone. And those are the two basic questions that really are facing you tonight. Is this the right time, and is this the right place? And again, that's the consideration that we would ask you to make, and you have the determination and recommendation from the Planning Commission. You've heard from the public, and you just, I know that the developer is in the room as well and would like to have some opportunity to give comment as well, perhaps after any further public hearing comments. But with that, I think I'm available for questions as well, just online. I know you can't see me, but I'm thoroughly interested in this meeting and very much engaged. So let me know if you have questions for me.
Thank you, Bill. Would we like to have the developer come and present his information, or would we like to have a discussion first? I think it makes sense to allow the developer at this point to have to be able to speak to this, and then we will discuss it. If there's any additional public comments, we will take those as well, and we'll move in that direction.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate your time. And my name is Jason Harris. I'm a representative of Fieldstone Homes. And tonight we are asking the council to evaluate one specific request, right, the general plan amendment. And then subsequently in the next item, which would be the R112 zoning. And I'm going to kind of address both at the same time now, just because one's going to lead to the other, but we certainly can have the discussion in both areas. Although there are many reasons to approve this request, I'm going to focus on three main data points. There's lots of things we can cover, but data point number one, the request actually does align with the general plan. The general plan has a couple of components to it. Often we're referring to the general plan map when we're talking about the current designation, but there's a whole huge document of written information about how planning should go related to the general plan. In that document, it actually does align the land use request here does align with the housing goals, support for residential growth, the compatibility with the surrounding areas, and infrastructure connectivity. These areas of alignment were also pointed out by your Planning Commission chair in her remarks to the other commissioners, and even some of the other commissioners talked about it. It was simply the map. And in all documents, right, maps are typically exhibits to, right, don't always align with. And that is something that we're here to say, we want you to consider that fact. The general plan through this process, right, which this isn't willy-nilly, right? This is how we start a process, is by making application and asking for your consideration. So that's the first point. And I think if you've read through the general plan, you'll find those data points. The second point I want to make is around a driver cannot see the difference. And here's what I mean in around this. The difference is behind the house. So both the R121 and the R112 zones carry the same minimum lot frontage requirement. Okay, so a resident who drives down a street on a half-acre lot and a street of those in R112 zone, they can't tell the difference in the character of the subdivision. The same house fits on both types of lots. The extra size of the lot is located entirely in the rear yard, invisible from the street and invisible from the community. That's important, right? Because a lot of folks have made comments about the character and that this would change that, but it actually won't. It will look exactly the same. The third data point, and related, is that rear yards cost the buyer, and I'm updating my number from the last time we talked, and I'll tell you why. Approximately $100,470 more. The difference between a 12,000 square foot lot and a 21,000 square foot lot is approximately 9,000 square feet of additional rear yard in this case. And a buyer cannot see it from the street, but they can feel it in the price of their home. The added cost breaks down like this. The extra landscaping of that 9,000 feet, right, adds up to about $40,500. The additional fencing along that back perimeter is about $9,860. And the additional square footage of land, that additional 9,000 square feet of land would be about $34,110 of additional cost. And then the one thing that I missed in my comments to the Planning Commission was the water. And the additional water acquisition required for the larger lot is an additional $16,000. So that all of those things, right, which are in the rear yard that can't be seen, add a little over $100,000 in additional cost. And like many of the comments that have already been said, that's meaningful. And so part of the consideration we're asking you here is to take into account what those added costs mean, not only in significance of adding more turf to irrigate, but also meaningful concerns, which also have been brought up by the community about this being a desert community where water supply is a long-term constraint. So with that, the staff report talks about high-density single family. That is not what Fieldstone is asking for. And we tried to clarify that with the Planning Commission. I want to clarify it here with the council. We're asking for the medium density residential classification, which aligns with the zoning request that follows this. Which is, what really the R112 zone will yield is somewhere between 2.2 and 2.5 units per acre. And we're very supportive of that. So in closing, I think this is a straightforward request. At the end of the day, these homes will be visually indistinguishable from the half-acre lots already prevalent in Grantsville. They will save the homeowner over $100,000 in the price of the home, and the subdivision will align with the goals of the general plan document. So we request that you give us your approval for this master plan change. And I'm happy to answer any questions from you now, or I would love to come up and address any concerns that come up out of the public comment.
Does anybody have any questions for Jason at this time? Huh? Okay. Thank you.
Right here. Thank you.
Anybody want to start us off with their thoughts on this request?
Do we need to do public comment first, or are we done?
I think it has here that we have the presentation and discussion, and then we will,
I'll just say a couple of comments in regards to this, these parcels of land. So just, this came before planning and zoning. This was what, maybe a month ago? And it was, well represented by the public comment. And the Planning and Zoning Commission was not unanimous to deny it. It was 3-2. And I just, currently this is zoned half acre. So I would just, if anyone's going to get up and make any public comment, I would just like to know from the public if the developer or the developer that we've just talked to, or any other developer came up and said, I want to put in 200 plus homes in this area, I mean, how would the public feel about that? Because as it stands right now, they could come in and do that fairly easily. And
Right,
will they
there are a
ask
lot
for-
of that, yes,
Yeah,
with the
they-
present zoning.
They could do that.
Mhm.
So, you know, we can see it right there on the board, future school site. Is that a for sure thing? No. Those individuals that have been involved and listened to the planning and zoning, there was a lot of talk about potential high school going in this area, which is a pretty big shift from where it is at currently, you know, about what, a mile away, a mile and a half, right? If that,
I'm not sure it's that far, but it might
Yeah.
be.
maybe a mile, if that. So we'll definitely keep that in mind, and that isn't, I mean, that's all up to Twilla County School District as well. I mean, that's
Right, that is not our
not our
ability to
call.
decide that. And I also want to just state this for the public, if it's all right, if I interrupt for 1 second,
Yeah, it's
Brett.
perfectly fine.
The school site, I know there's been some concern, well, why would we put another high school right by the present high school? That's not the intent. The present high school, according to the school district, their intent is to make the present high school a junior high, because the high school has outgrown, as you can all tell from all of the portables in the parking lot. So we would not be putting a second high school in this area. Just want to make sure that everybody is clear on that. Or the school district wouldn't, has nothing to do with our decision, but that is not their intent. Sorry, Rick, go ahead.
And just one last just word of encouragement. I would actually like to hear from the individuals who actually own these parcels of land and see what their thoughts are. I mean, if they can get up during public comment and just express if they'd like to, just encourage them to do that as well. That's my thought.
Okay.
Because
Jake?
Fieldstone does not own these parcels of land.
No.
There are residents of Grantsville who own these parcels of land, so.
Right. Jake, do you have any additional comments?
I do not. I'll save mine for after.
Okay, Derek,
I'm gonna save mine for after.
Brittany?
I just want to say, I appreciate all the public comment. It's been really helpful. I'm not super familiar with that, but I was just down in that subdivision, but the public comment's been helpful, especially those who are part of the general plan. So yeah, I think it's clear what the community in the area wants to do. So.
Okay. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I don't.
Okay. At this point, then we will turn this back over to a public hearing item. And for the record, we have received letters from Frank Anderson, Scott Bridges, and Marla Spencer that have been presented to the council. And so at this point, we will open this up to additional comment if anyone has anything new they'd like to add to this discussion.
Michelle married again. So for the record, I back onto this property, so this directly impacts me. And I agree, these people that own this property, they should be able to sell it and make money and build. It's zoned for half-acre lots. I'm not against doing what it's zoned for. Half-acre lots, great. But like him saying that the yards, like I'm an architect, so I do this every day. Just because a half an acre to a quarter acre, unless they have the whole subdivision platted out, that's not saying that your lot can't be this shape and there's 50 feet on the sides of them rather than, 10 feet between these two guys. So that doesn't hold true unless they have the subdivision platted out. Also, if you look at the subdivision on the corner of Willow and Pear versus the subdivision on Willow and Durfee that are half acre versus quarter acre, you can definitely tell a difference which ones are quarter acre and which ones are half acre. They're ones, because the ones on Willow back onto us. They're way bigger, like we have way bigger spaces in between those houses. So I'm just saying. Also, I just want to add in, it has this subdivision and other subdivisions. We do need another school, but we're already getting taxed out. We keep adding more and more kids to this city, and I don't know how we're going to afford to put another school. The other school killed us last year. So something to
What would your
consider.
suggestion be then? I mean, if we've outgrown the school we have, what?
Well,
what
no,
options do we have?
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree, but we just keep adding more, so doubling the kids coming in for this subdivision alone, like we just keep adding more and more kids. And we don't have the infrastructure for it. We don't have the schools and we don't have the tax money, obviously, to keep building more schools. So.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm Kevin Casey. A couple of comments after listening to that. One, the straw man argument about less water use I find fairly humorous because that just means more people with more yards are still going to use the same amount of water. So the water savings argument I find just laughable on the surface. The other issue that the city has been trapped in the past is precedence. By allowing any developer to come in and change significant time investment from the city and the community in the past to come up with the master development, the city's been trapped in that game before by developers. That allowing a shift now sets a precedence. What you think the next set of developers not going to come in and use that legally to say you've allowed it here, we demand it here, and then sue the city and then leave the taxpayers holding the bill once again. There is a history of that, and precedence is important. We came up with the plan. It reflected the will of the people. Bill stated it. Unless there's a significant change to drive that without consulting the people, we should stick with the master plan that the people approved and that the city spent significant time and money building. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Hi, Rick and Marriott. I just had a couple of points just written down from the developers discussion. One, I kind of agree with Bill's comments earlier that general plan changes are drastic, and that the two cases that he presented of whether it's a clerical issue or a major change in the moral character of the city or general character of the city. Neither of those have happened, in my opinion. And then the developer, I'm sorry, I don't remember your name. He pointed out that there are points in the general plan that the subdivision aligns with. Listed the points. I don't really see how those points are applicable. There's no real argument made to how it aligns. And so I deem it as debatable, not a definitive point. And then also something that was brought up in the planning and zoning meeting was affordability, which was an argument that was left out for this presentation. And the movement from half acre to smaller lots is negligible in affordability, is really what the discussion, in my opinion, came down to. You move an expensive home to slightly less expensive, not from an expensive home to an affordable home. And that's all I got.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to make a comment, or is there anyone online? Alicia, too. Okay.
So we have KW. You'll have to state your name for the record, please.
Yeah, hi, my name is Catherine West from Grantsville. And can you guys hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, okay, perfect. Well, I'm asking the council to then, after hearing all this, I respect you guys and I know you guys have a really hard decision to make, but just keep it in mind that you guys are here for the people. We voted for you guys to represent us. And I hope our comments and our concerns are being heard, because in the next couple of years, maybe it's not going to be you guys or someone else. But I'm asking the council to deny this amendment. The proposed change increased lot sizes, but it does not change the actual character of the homes or the neighborhood. The only real difference, from what I heard, are hitting on the rear yards, higher land costs, higher fencing costs, and significantly higher water demand. We're talking about over 100,000 in additional cost per lot. With the economy right now, how it is already, A lot of people that can't afford that. A lot of people from Salt Lake, they're moving to Grantsville because they found more affordable places here. But people that are already living here, they cannot afford that. Additional, we know at the end of the day, all this costs, we don't see no benefits to the community. It's already in a desert region where we live, where water is already a limited and expensive resources. Increasing irrigation demands is not a minor issue. It is a long-term public concern. This proposal reduces affordability where our consumption is off the roof. With every job that we have, like someone else mentioned it, we can't get raises, gas is off the roof, and bringing more people into this community where houses that are so expensive or taxes be growing up. At the end of the day, we don't hear nothing for the community that it will be beneficial for us. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a second online comment?
We have Rick.
Okay.
Hello, Rick Barchers again. One of the things that I believe Councilman Butler was alluding to is what will happen to the land when you change the zoning on it. There's no agreement for that. Whatever development, whatever landowner says they're going to do this or that, they could say, well, we changed our mind. Then you're stuck with the quarter-acre lots. Is that a big deal? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but that is a very likely scenario. As far as affordability in housing and how much it's going to save per home, I believe every member of the city council there knows exactly or has a fairly good idea of how many townhomes are about to be built in Grantsville, how many smaller lots are already okayed, already ready to go. As far as meeting the variable future housing choice, this would actually reduce it. I mean, the half-acre lots as an option are just disappearing right and left. If I have kids and they want to play, I'm willing to pay for that extra yard. That's what I did. I got grandkids that come over and play in my yard, and you know the difference between a quarter acre and a half acre. It's to say it's $40,000 extra for sod, I think is kind of a stretch. I mean, that's some pretty pricey sod. And so as far as the affordability issue goes, that's not even an argument. Are we going to reduce every single land use area to provide affordable housing? I mean, that seems to be the direction that the developers believe we should all go. One other issue that I would like to point out is the water. Now, I know a little bit about water. I know you guys know a little bit about water. One thing I would like to point out is how many, what's the water allotment for the variable 52 acres of property? What water is going with that? Does this document line that out? I mean, is it specified who's giving up what water? Because I mean, there's a lot of different landowners there. I know it's currently being irrigated, so I know water is there and available. But what water lays with the donated land, I don't believe that was specified. So anyway, this is something that would be better addressed under a PUD. A change in the future land use plan, or just changing the future land use plan. That's all you're doing. They're not agreeing to really do anything, so except make more money. And that's all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Joanne Jacobs again. One thing to maybe consider, not just with this development, but with the other ones that are going to come up in the future. I have a property on a main road coming into town, and it is nonstop traffic from about 7 a.m. to about, I don't know, 10 p.m. probably. It's just all day long. It's just traffic all day. And that, in order to resolve that, that would mean putting money into roads, which would mean raising taxes, which brings us back around to people being taxed out of their homes. So, please think about that when you're considering things like this too.
Thank you. Anyone else online, Alicia?
We do have Lisa.
Okay,
Hi, can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Lisa Lingwall again. I find it kind of interesting how the developer has stated all these things of how it's going to cost this much and that much, and particularly in the water conversation, because I have one of the lots that's on the corner, and so we have almost an acre. And we've been very aware of the water consumption, and so we have landscaped our property to be very water friendly. Mostly we have a lot of gravel. We actually have the retention pond in our backyard. And so people are aware of the water use. And so to double the amount of homes is going to double the amount of water versus on the half-acre lots where people, I believe, will be more responsible with their water usage and landscaping in order to make that be a more water-friendly environment for their families, and so that they have more play areas and more, maybe a chicken coop or gardening sheds or whatever, even garden boxes or land where they can garden, whereas the smaller lots won't allow that kind of thing. And I also just find it interesting that he talks about affordability and so forth, but it seems like to me that making these lots smaller, the only thing it's really accomplishing is more money for the developer. So that's my 2 cents on that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Michael Lenwijk again, resident. I guess just one simple question. Is this future site, school site, is it all part of this master whatever development? Are we horse swapping here? Is that what the proposal is? Taking the half-acre lots, zoning, we'll give you this 54-acre school site for the quarter-acre lots? Is that part of this?
No.
It's just looking kind of, not knowing the past history of this, I'm just asking if that's part of the agreement, because obviously we know my history with 20 wells or the wells. Anytime the city gets caught horse swapping, we always get the very tail end of it. So
Right,
if that's,
this would be a negotiation with the school district, not the city.
but the city, no, this would be part of the city. If this is part of the horse trading to go from half acre to quarter acres, in order to do the quarter acre, we'll give up this 54 acres. I know for a fact right now that every time the city goes with developers, like I said before, really look at what we're getting in bed with. Because 20 wells, now we've got a Promise Park that was supposed to be developed now, and it's still not developed. Scenic slopes. So if that's part of the deal, really think about it and ask the developer if that's part of the thing, because the developer's not going to give up X amount of dollars if there's nothing to benefit from it. So if there's horse trading involved, stay out from underneath the horse's tail, because we usually get landed on.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yeah. It's Mark Spencer again. So the future school site, we don't take that into any consideration. So what we are doing is we're saying we're gonna do quarter acre lots for that whole parcel, not just the 54, we're doing it for the whole parcel.
Right.
And again, I'm gonna go back to the water again, because the half acre versus a quarter acre and how we can't see that a quarter acre and a half acre are different. I don't know how we can't see that. I live on an acre. The development I'm in is on acres. I know the difference between an acre, a half acre, and a quarter acre very easily. And again, water, we can build a sewer, we can build certain things. A water share, you asked about, how many shares we're going with it. It doesn't matter. We, like I said, 200,000 gallons per share when we moved out here. It is now 50. It's a quarter of what we had. So it's really expensive to water anything. People are being put on city water to water their yards right now. I don't think that's acceptable at this point either. So as she was stating, we know in our yards how to landscape. But quarter acres is just doubling the water. That's it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone online, Alicia?
No.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing and return back to our discussion with the council. And thank you all for your comments. Go ahead, Jason.
Is now the right time to address some of those
Yes,
things?
it is.
Is that okay?
Mhm.
So just a couple of things I think might just be helpful. The confusion around the school, right, that came up before, that's not part of the request. The image got put in and should have been taken out. So we're not talking about the school here. As far as commonly used quarter acre lot, we're also not talking about quarter acre lots. These are a minimum of 12,000 foot lots, right? That's the minimum. So on average, these will be third acre lots. When we talk about the significance of change that's happened over time in our market, and everybody's heard of COVID, right? That was a significant change. Our market changed completely during that time. And costs have continued to rise since then, in addition to the price of homes, the price of land, and everything else. So this doesn't come without significant differences from when the general plan was, the map, which was even earlier than the last amendment to the general plan was even created. So you are making decisions here based on what has happened over time and since the general plan map was updated. It is important, and it is an important consideration to understand those things which you all know and feel, everyone on this council as well as everyone in this audience, in terms of costs and how they continue to rise. And one of the ways we combat that is through addressing land use and addressing how these subdivisions plan out for now and for the future, because the future is grim in terms of housing affordability. So we do bring that up because it is important. I shared with the Planning Commission last time, and I'm happy to share it here if you'd like to see it. But the difference in income versus the household income since 1980 to current versus the median home price from the same time till current, right? The difference between those two has gone up nearly 700% over the other. That is significant, and then we should not take that lightly, and it can't be turned back. It is the new reality. So yeah, we are making big decisions here, and there's lots of things to consider, and those things are not little. So I do want to just remind you of that. Because I think everything that's said here is applicable, right, in terms of cost, and $100,000 in a home is not insignificant. It's very significant.
Jason?
Yes.
Since you're on that point, I think it's important for the council to hear too. In the planning and zoning meeting, you brought up the price points of what it would be for the half acre lots, and then what it would be if it got zoned to the 12,000 square foot acre lots. Could you kind of tell us what those price points were. You had specific price points. I think you said, I won't say, you can tell us what you said for the half acre, then what these ones would be priced at.
Yeah, so what was suggested, right, was homes in the area on those price points would be around $800,000. And what I said was that we can bring down the cost of that, right, through the difference between the lot size of the rear yard. What we're really talking about is that difference in terms of a percentage. So it doesn't matter where we're starting, right, in terms of home price, because these homes are expensive no matter what. What really matters is, can we add value? And the answer is yes, through the reduction in cost.
Okay, I mean, I know, but you specifically said what your houses were gonna be at 12,000, at the 112, at that price point. So I think it's important for everyone to hear what that number you said. I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, you said like in the 700,000, 750?
I would say it's probably likely that is what I said. I don't know the answer to that, because what comes right later once we get into the actual design, right?
Yeah.
Because the costs will change from here till then, right? But that is kind of where those home prices are. That's correct.
Is there anything else you'd like to address?
No, unless you have,
Okay.
unless you
Does
have
anyone
any
have
specific questions,
for
I'd
him?
love to answer those for you.
I think we're
Okay.
good for a minute.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
After hearing the public hearing items that were presented by the public, does anybody have any new thoughts or concerns? Or would you like to state your opinion on this whole scenario?
I'll start.
Okay.
So I was on planning commission for 3 years. And that was one of my, I'd say my biggest pet peeves was developers coming in, knowing the land, the zoning that they got, and they'd come in and ask for rezones. They know what they're getting into. They should plan the development around that. Another thing is we're about ready to do a new general plan. We know those aren't cheap. And I think that we should stick with the general plan and what we've done, for the last time. If we want to wait and do the general plan and see what changes. I know there was some talk about the city center shifted, so things could change, but what's the point of a general plan if we just approve, amendments to them all the time? We've held firm on a couple of them up on the west side. They came in wanting smaller lots. We held firm with the half acre lots, 'cause that's what it was zoned for. We had a big turnout like this. This is when I was on planning commission, and listened to the citizens, and we stuck with our guns, and we said, that's the zoning that we're gonna allow. So I think that we need to, we know there's a shiny object that might happen, but we can't look at that right now, and I don't think we should change the zoning for this development. I think it needs to stay at half acre. And what's the point of, are we gonna spend all this money on a new general plan and then just change it, every time someone comes before us? If that's the case, then we shouldn't waste the money on a general plan.
Thank you, Derek. Anyone else have anything they'd like to add?
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments.
Okay.
Yeah, the general plan is the will of the people, and that is, I remember very vividly when, and it's been some years, when this area was specifically discussed, and mainly because I had a home up in that area at the time, and there was a lot of discussion of higher density in that area at the time, and so so this area was specifically laid out, and the homes around this area was specifically laid out with half acre or greater lot sizes. And so in the comments that were brought to that meeting specifically were that it, maintain that look and feel. And so, I know the planning and zoning has a recommended denial of this, based on that feel. There's homes on all sides of this, or 3 sides of this property that meet the, higher acreage. And so, my feel is that, we should follow the general plan amendment and follow the recommendation of our planning and zoning in the denial of this based on that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I feel the same way. Love the area. Got a son building across the street on a half an acre lot. And hopefully making that happen. So I think it's an amazing area. I think it's an area that anyone would want to live in. And real part of our town. So I'd feel the same way about keeping the general plan and following the Planning and Zoning's council.
Brett or Brittany? Anything you'd like to
My
add?
thought was, I know you said, housing prices are grim, but I don't think that's because we're lacking townhomes or other things. It's just because cost of living is increasing every time you step out the door. So I agree. I think we should stick with the general plan in this area. We have other options for things that are coming in townhomes and smaller lots. I think, like we said, the general plan was approved and people who were there and, we're part of that are asking us to keep it the same. So I think we should keep it.
My thoughts on this, since they proposed this, has always gone to the west side of Grantsville as well, with the parcel that Derek was talking about, that we kind of held strong to the half acre lots and just the feel of that. And there's, you and I drove up there and there's not much there. And we both said, that's what this feels like. It feels like it needs to be a little bit more open. When we do the general plan amendment, this may change. We may adjust it, but to me, the half acre lots and what we have currently is what it wants to be, right now. So that's my thought.
Okay. Any other discussion?
So I'll make a motion that we deny ordinance 2026-19. And don't change the general plan amendment for this Wellstone subdivision.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Butler. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Dalton. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, moving on to item number 8. I believe we still have to have the public hearing. Is that correct? So, I think we've had all the information presented, so we'll open this back up to public comment. And is there anyone online?
Oh, sorry.
Any additional comments? Okay, we will close the public hearing. Is there any further discussion or would anyone like to make a motion?
Mayor, I'll make a motion. We deny ordinance 2026-20, approving the rezone of R121 to R112 for Wellstone subdivision.
Also second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Dalton and a second by Councilmember Butler. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9, the discussion of the fiscal year 27 budget. I would like to note this is a discussion item only. No action or public comment will be taken during this meeting at this time. But I also would like to add that the public hearing on the tentative budget will be held on June 3rd at 7 p.m. here at the Grantsville City Hall. And we will turn this over to Aspen, our financial director for the city.
As we.
Okay. So as we dive in, I do want to adjust a few things, just based on our meeting from last week that I did address. This budget that you see up here. It did come up that I had not budgeted for our rental property maintenance. So that has been added to the city hall line, at 3,000. Just wanted to point that out. We did combine public works safety equipment to the garbage fund to make things easier for Christy and her team when they need to distribute that safety equipment. I had adjusted the judge's wages from my miscommunication with Judge Topham. And water meter, the hydrant water meter sales, they do go. I did confirm, and just, we do keep the deposit separate when they rent the hydrant meter, but as far as the actual revenues that come from that, that does just come into our sale of water. So this metered water sales line, that's just where it goes. So those are some questions. Some other questions, I know, Rhett, you had asked me about how much COVID relief funds that we had received. Between ARPA and the CARES Act, Grantsville City received approximately $3,328,092 in COVID relief funds. So that's follow up on that. And then I did speak with our CPA consultant about the discussion of budgeting our road supervisor with our Class C roads funds. It was recommended not to adjust it this year solely for the purpose of we don't have a history at this time. He did say next year it would be a potential once we have a history to show how much of those wages did end up coming and were able to be covered by Class C road money that we could then budget based on an informed decision. But he said right now he would not recommend budgeting with that. So
Understood. I
I have not made that change for his recommendation at this time. So right now, nothing there has changed. So yes, and then we did discuss the difference between the COLA raises, Eric. So if we were to, currently they're still in at the 3% across the board, but if we did take them out, it would, if we did no increases at all, it would be approximately $193,000 in savings. And if we only did savings. From me to continue. If we only did savings.
Just shut your phone.
If we only did raises to hourly employees, that would be approximately $57,201 in savings. So
What was that again?
$57,201 in savings. So it would reduce the general fund budget by that, but that's how much it would be reduced by, right? That's not how much it would cost. That's how much it would. So.
Sorry, I'll come up with the first number if you cut all COLA raises.
193,000. So that would reduce this number. Now, per conversation with city manager and mayor, I have taken the we don't have it yet anyway, but I did take the 18 million water credit money out of the budget currently, so it is not included. So the capital fund projects fund, I did budget, so we don't need to budget additional funding for scenic slopes because what's not used from this year will roll over. So the only amount that will need to be budgeted for to be transferred from the general fund to the capital projects fund is enough to cover the bond payment from that $5 million bond. which is approximately 386,000. So I did add that into the general fund budget here with just a transfer to capital project fund of just like 386. So that of course does impact the bottom line. So we don't have that savings anymore. But again, this is as it stands without pulling anything from fund balance. So we could look into that.
What did we pull last year from fund balance? I think we talked about this.
I know I had it ready for you last time. I'm
All
sorry.
right, no, that's okay, that's okay.
I
I know
wanna
we
say-
talked about it.
I want to say it was a little over 2 million.
So every year though, essentially we pull from fund balance. Or we got the COVID relief funds where we didn't have to.
Well, yeah, which is part of the fund balance, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah, I guess that's what
Yeah,
it
so
was.
our revenues were supplemented pretty significantly, honestly, by those COVID funds. I mean, that 3.3 million is substantial. That's more than we're looking at here, obviously. I'll look for that
Okay,
official
sounds
number.
good. That's okay.
But just overall, I think the discussion today is just trying to get a solid direction from you guys with what you want to see. As Mayor mentioned, we are going to do the public hearing for adopting the interim budget. And that would be a public hearing item on the agenda. And then we are looking, if we are going to proceed with any sort of tax increase, we do have to set the date for that, which we do have a hearing date open for that. But ultimately just looking for like finalized direction from you guys so that I can have an interim budget ready. Because we do need to have that available for the public to review in order to have a public comment.
Can you scroll to the bottom again to the final numbers?
You're wanting to hear, Derek?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So that 952. We need to make that up. So what percentage of property tax increases is that now? Where are we at with that? What you changed, do you know?
60.
Is it in the 60s?
Yeah, because initially it was nearly double that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're trying to get
So-
to 7.
And that was the 84%, and we needed to set it that day. So that we had that in place. But obviously, with our budget meeting that we had last week, we've cut that in half.
Yeah, and even when we
Almost there.
were discussing last week, depending on the usage of the 18 million, I didn't have that transfer in of that 386,000, which significantly lowered that $952,000 number. But I did have to add that back in to consider not using that.
So it's potentially lower than the 60 then.
Yeah, so
And this is without pulling any fund balance, which you recommend that we don't do, but we have done over the course of the last 5 years, at least, supplemented with those monies. And there will be, you indicated that there will be a fund balance from this last year's budget that will roll into that
yes.
fund that we
Yeah.
don't spend.
Yeah, just
on the
because
budget.
we never have 100% spending, right? So we don't spend 100% of our budget every year. So, but right now for that difference right there, that 952,000, that's roughly a 46% increase. So for the average home, that would be, which is the $530,000 value, as a reminder, would be a monthly increase of $15.29 a month.
$180 a year.
103.
For the average.
For the average.
Yes, yes.
And that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I know, Probably worth, having a conversation. I know we went line by line and went through every department. I appreciate each member, each department head. Essentially throwing out any requests that whatever that is, an additional police officer, additional patrol car, a water truck. And so as we looked at, whatever we were whatever those departments were looking at specifically, I appreciated them really sacrificing and tightening the belt and trying to figure out ways that they could help make this look better. So anyway, I just wanted to state that publicly. I don't know how many spent 4.5 hours going through budget numbers with us last time we did this several weeks ago. So anyway, I just wanted to comment on that.
Can you tell me what the percentage was again, Aspen? Sorry.
Yeah, it's 46.
Thank you.
It's down 40% where we started.
I think that's good, but I think we could maybe still get a little bit lower. I think we should do something maybe like we talked about before, maybe like a collaborative approach and pull a little bit from fund balance. Maybe we can see a little bit from the water credits that can come, where we can maybe get that number down even a bit lower. I've already said mine. I know this is difficult, but I don't think we should do. I think we should keep the increases for the staff. Every department has asked for more staff and we've told them no, and they're already running lean. I think if we say now we're not giving you raises, and so no, we're gonna have attrition, we're gonna have people leaving, we're gonna have to train. The one thing I said that I think we do need public safety to be a priority. I just don't think you can say, sorry, you don't get that when we're already below what we should be per citizen, for public safety. That's just my opinion. But I think we're moving in the right directions. I mean, we did this, like you said, every department head has cut significantly. And I think that's good for the public to know that they pretty much nobody got what they wanted as far as they were
Not
told.
pretty much no one.
Nobody.
No one. That's like, I know they were asking for, 4 officers and additional, almost everywhere. And so everybody was told, no, this isn't, from what I'm seeing, this is not like people asking for a lot. But I think we can make more like a collaborative approach of monies that we do have, maybe use, I understand we don't want to use a lot of fund balance. We don't want to get in that habit like we have for the past few years. I also think though, we haven't raised property taxes in 16 years or so, since 2010, is that right?
We had 2 years that we raised them. I think it was in 08 and 09.
09, we had a 1% increase, and
Then we had
10, we had a
2 years that we
3%.
We decreased, yeah, so we actually went below.
And before that, it was, the last time recorded was 1997.
1981 was as far back as I could go.
Oh, 1981. Okay.
So 1997 to 2008, no increase. 2009, we had a 1% increase. 2010, we had a 3% increase. 2011, we went -10. 2012, we went -16. And then from 2013 to 2026, no increase.
So
I just want to make.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Quick.
Just so everyone's clear though, just because we had an addition and a decrease, doesn't mean that people didn't pay more property tax, because the value of their home increased.
So,
Right.
yeah, so
That's
we're
where
talking
we've
about
seen it.
from the certified tax rate is what we're talking about. So
Exactly.
we're not talking about, and also
Yeah,
Tooele County, there's other places that raise their taxes, so.
The school district.
Their school district, like your taxes clearly go up, so.
Our amount is
Minimal in your
Minimal.
tax bill, yes.
still something. It's not.
It is.
It's not
Well,
negligible.
and we're residents here too. None of us want to pay
No,
high property taxes.
No.
no, we don't.
Yes.
Sorry, to just as a option, just to kind of put it in perspective for everyone. So if we covered that, so if I took out I just took it out for a number. So if we took out the 386,000 to transfer the capital projects fund, and let's say we pulled that from fund balance instead, rather than doing an increase, that would mean we're off 566,000, which to make that up would be a 28% increase, which would be $9.31 a month per resident. So that's kind of just a potential kind of
I like that.
hybrid plan, I
Yeah.
guess, where we are using some from fund balance, but not. I feel like 386,000 from fund balance would be a reasonable usage amount. That's not excessive, but it's, you know, still using what we have there available that probably most of would have rolled over from this year, not spent. And then, also doing, you know, 28% is a lot better than 84%. And might be a little bit more reasonable.
And 28% was how much per year, did you say?
So per year it's $111, but the monthly increase would be $9.31.
So I was the one that proposed no COLA increase. And I'm willing to negotiate on some things. But so I like what you did, what we were doing, what you proposed, Brittany. And I'm, you know, cost of living, I get it. It's a morale thing too. There's training. I get all that. But I would feel better, and I know we're not banking on this because we haven't got the check yet, but I'd like to cover that small amount that we have with the water fund and just stick to the 5% that I proposed this year, and then a 5% increase for the next, 5 years. And gradually increase the property tax instead of a big jump all at once.
So are you saying do the 300, like she said, from the capital funds, and then that difference that you talked about? Then we could use that
We could
from
use
the water credits.
credit.
That would be a minimal amount we were using from the water credit, so it wouldn't be.
Well, it was 193,000, correct, Lex? Or
Sorry,
Aspen?
for the 193,000 would
For
just be.
The COLA.
Yes, save.
Wait, are you saying take out the COLA? Or are you saying?
No, I'm saying
Well, let's negotiate.
put the COLA back in, but use the water credit to
Yes.
make up the difference of the balance that we have, and then just do a
A small
5%,
increase.
5% increase instead of a 24 or 60 or 80, just a 5, and then we raise it 5% for 5 years, and then we can reevaluate it and see where we're at, if we need to change things.
Can we do
or-
that?
No.
We have to
address it
We
every
can't
year.
every
It has
year.
to-
You have to do it every year,
every
but
year.
Yeah, but I think 5% seems reasonable, and then if we can do it, then we look at where we're at. The hard part with these water credits is we obviously won't get that every year, and we're gonna wanna do something with it. But I think what you're saying is that's a reasonable amount to make up the deficit, so city doesn't have to, we don't have to raise property taxes that much.
So a 5% increase would be approximately 104,000 in additional revenue and cost a resident about $1.06, the average resident about $1.66 per month, which equates to $19.94 a year on the average home. Just so you guys know what that would look like.
And then how much would we need to take from the water credits to make up? What were we left at, like 600?
566,
Yeah, so plus that 386.
so 9.
That'd be from fund balance, the three.
Yes, fund balance.
So we're saying the 386 will come from fund balance, we're saying the rest to make up,
Oh.
we would take from the water credits.
Yeah, so we'd be pulling about, so those two together would be 952,000, so just shy.
So
of-
minus the 386 from the.
Yeah, so depending on where you wanted to take those two amounts from, yeah, whether it'd be water credit money or fund balance, it would be roughly just shy of 900.
You don't reflect any of the interest from those dollars in here, do you?
No, and right now, as it stands, there's the water credit money is not
It's not
considered in
even
this
in there.
budget.
At all.
Whether it's being spent, saved, or invested, I don't have it in here to any capacity at this
But even if we just put in the savings account, you said we could receive a small interest off of that.
Yeah.
And it would still be liquid though, if we decided to.
Yeah, she said 3.5%.
For the
Which
first
is
little
about
bit.
600,
630,000.
630.
Only for 6 months though,
But
Yeah.
and then it reduces down to like roughly 2%, which is not nothing on 18 million, right?
Yeah.
I'd like to just, you guys, Brett, Heidi and Jake, you guys are the ones that had the vision or the guts to sell the water. I just, if you guys had any thoughts on, I didn't vote for the solar water. I'd like you guys to say what your vision is for that money, if you had any thoughts on, or at least say, are you fine investing that money? Are you? And we talked a lot of things, but I want you guys to say
Well,
what your vision
I think,
is.
we see a lot of grant opportunities that we have to have matching funds. And so my driving force was always to be able to leverage some of these higher dollar grant applications that we really don't have the funds or the monies to be able to do the matching dollars. And then to be able to make the amount of investment from the solar water credit essentially double the benefit for the community. So that was always my reasoning for voting for it.
So, which is awesome. So you get a $2 million grant for a park that requires a match. It costs us $2 million.
Yeah.
So we're doubling our money for free. But then we can't
Well, not
have.
for free, but yeah.
Well, yeah, right. But we can't have our money tied up when those opportunities come along, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Which it all depends on the flexibility, how we reinvest it and how we let that money sit work for us and how we can do that. I mean, there are some, we're not a business. We can't invest it in a sweeps account. So I mean, we have to be cautious about how we do that and
But that still allows us to improve our parks, which is
Right.
important.
Mhm.
and potentially.
Well, not even just parks. I mean, there's so many other grant opportunities that are available if you have those matching dollars. Just right now, we're waiting on word from a grant that we've applied for with UDOT for replacing sidewalks on Main Street. And anybody that's walked several sections of the sidewalks on Main Street, either they don't even exist or they're in disrepair and they need work, and we just don't have the funds clearly from our budget to do that. But we put in for these grants, this one particularly with UDOT for the sidewalks on Main Street. And we have those funds available. Those are improvements that we just simply don't have the budget to make without having those matching dollars available. So I'm completely with Rhett that was my intent. Was there's just so many different areas that we can hope to make improvements, and doubling those funds are my greatest, that's my greatest interest.
I appreciate the question. My thought process behind that vote specifically was to protect the citizens in an opportunity to find an investment to generate whatever we needed, whether that was water. And I feel really strongly that if we could take those funds and turn them into additional water or resources for water, it protects us against the concern that we have. Infrastructure, sewer infrastructure was kind of the other component there. And I know there was a lot of decision-making back and forth on trying to ensure that we protected ourselves against being able to come out of the third portion of that and ensure that, we weren't jeopardizing, future water or ability for future water. But that's one of the areas that I feel like it's an asset of the citizens, and I really feel very strongly that it needs to go into investment for the citizens, for the benefit of our city, whatever that is. I would support issuing some of that towards reducing the percentage that we're asking for an increase. I would actually support that over pulling from the funds that we have there currently. mainly because we're operating in a deficit and we should not. And so I would support pooling from that, not pulling from the funds. It does, you know, give us less to work with. And we talked about, you know, some options there that to try to maximize it. The grants are one of those. There's other options. There are a lot of needs that the city has. It would be an opportunity to address whatever those are. And I've heard many of those. You know, one of the things that I ran specifically on was finding opportunities to benefit our youth. Those are parks. And I know there were some comments made about parks specifically. We have looked at avenues to duplicate those dollars specifically for those parks, and the Scenic Slopes Parks is getting started on a grant, on a $750,000 grant, and that's why it's moving forward. So, but I do think we have to try to protect those things that we don't have, and parks is one of those things that we don't have. So that was another, in my mind, is another avenue that we could look at, you know, without impacting directly the citizens. So anyway, that was my basis of vote.
And we really don't know what the future brings for us either. I mean, there could be economic opportunity that comes the city's way in which we can leverage and reinvest that money into the community to bring economic development in that could affect our community for decades down the road. So, I mean, that's certainly a possibility as well. So having that is better than not having it. And we discussed ad nauseum the reasons for and the reasons against, right?
Right.
And I think ultimately at the end of the day, we made a wise decision for the future of Grantsville. So. That's my thought.
So this item
What-
is just a discussion. Did you want to say?
I was just
Go
gonna,
ahead.
I maybe wanted to hear a little more of the council's feel on not dipping into, I appreciate Derek and Brittany and their comments regarding the COLA. I feel like I feel that that's something that should go through to those employees. And so as far as on top of that, and my mind's going like 9 directions right now. I just wanted the council's thoughts as far as using credit funds for that specifically, or dipping into our savings essentially to help offset an increase.
I think we use the water credits for it all. I mean, it's coming out either way, but I mean, if you want the general fund to look better, then just pull it from the water credits, and I think that would be fine. And if it helps us reduce this tax increase to help citizens, and then what's left over, we can use it to match it, match grants, potentially double the money.
And we'll still have plenty left.
Yeah, I mean,
so time being.
So I'd be for that, and I'd like that direction. I mean, with the sewer increase we just did, I just feel like we've just been tax like everywhere, and I'm just tax exhausted, and I just,
I think we all are, right?
Yeah. But I also don't think we can put it off forever, like, oh, no tax increase forever. So I think we do a minimal, as much as, minimal possible, because we're not gonna have this water credit funds going forward. I mean, it will be spent. I mean, we're not all here saying like, let's spend it quickly, wisely, but we also have to account for the cost of things growing up. So I do think we need some small increase. I'm okay whether we get this makeup from I think Aston was saying that 368 was probably coming back into the general fund anyways. That's why I said right? Am I saying that?
Yeah.
Whatever that's why I was like, if we're gonna get that, then maybe we just take it. But I think I agree with Derek. I don't think it really matters as long as we're making that difference up.
I think in the end, it comes from this.
The same, yeah, we're
same
just moving
place,
what, yes, because
right?
it's going into the.
If you
general.
think about it,
Right,
right?
it really
It's just how does it impact our residents, I think is the question. And it impacts us all. So, how do we do that to ensure that we're balancing, going forward and taking care of that side of it, as well?
Could you remind us again what the tax increase for Tooele citizens is proposed right now? Or what happened last year? Maybe that's what it was.
I don't actually know what they proposed for an increase for this year. I know historically they had to do a massive increase that probably 10 years ago, and it was about 86%. They were in some boat. And then one thing that they did after that was they've incrementally done like 3 to 5% increases since then, aside from, I think they skipped a couple years for COVID.
Okay, because they got COVID relief funds.
And they didn't do an increase last year. I think everyone was hesitant due to the proposed increase from the school district, but that one ended up not going through. So,
Which I'm sure they will propose it again this year.
yeah. But if we did do the 84% increase here puts Grantsville City at a similar tax rate that Tooele is at. Because I think they're at like 0.002476 or something like that. So, and in the 86% or 84 would have put us right up comparable to Tooele, something like that.
Thank you.
So we're close, right? We're getting
Yeah.
better.
I think
Yeah.
we're getting closer.
Yeah, and even from originally, sorry, Jeff, interrupted you a
Go,
little bit there,
no.
but I do just want to give, to our staff, just, even going through and like with you guys last week, sitting through, the meeting, we have, even on our own, we did cut, 582,000, between the departments and meeting with you guys last week. So I do appreciate the time that our staff and you guys have spent on this, because I do feel like it's been progress in the right direction. So we're getting closer.
No, thank you, Aspen, as well. I'm sure you're seeing these numbers in your sleep. So
We all are.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so this was just a discussion item. Is there anything else that you'd like to discuss before our June 3rd tentative budget? I think we've given Aspen direction. Is there anything else you need from us, Aspen?
So as far as I'm standing right now, I will bring the budget on for our June meeting, proposed with a 5% increase and taking the additional 932,000 from, for now, it'll say fund balance until we've actually received and made decisions on it.
Will we know by June 3rd that, because
Yeah.
that
Yes.
should be.
Payment should be received May.
Right, we don't want to spend count our chickens.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
So,
and
and of course
if
you
that
can-
doesn't carry
Still pull
through,
from fund
then
balance.
it's gonna come from
Correct.
fund balance
Right.
of 9.
That's
So
right.
And
Which
the
is a lot.
interim budget
almost
at that
1.
meeting can be adjusted at your guys' direction. So it's not like that's the one and done, but I do just need to have something available and, presented, so. If that's correct. Okay.
Need to have it adopted.
Any additional information we'd like to give Aspen or direction? No, okay. All right, we will close item number 9 and move to item number 10, a presentation of the proposed property tax impact schedule.
Oh, yeah, because we talked about the budget, we have to review again, the property tax impact schedule. As we.
Hold on for just a second.
Yeah.
Aspen, I need to make note that Councilmember Dalton does need to leave, and so he will be excused at this time.
Thanks.
Travel safe.
Okay, you can go ahead.
Okay, this will, since we're moving forward with a new direction, having an interim budget presented at our next meeting. This will change to match what the interim budget will be. So, but currently this is how it stands. This is what the tentative budget was presented as, and this is what is as it stands right now, which Grantsville City is considering a property tax increase from 0.001368 to 0.002517, which exceeds the estimated, certified tax rate, and is estimated to generate an additional $1,749,701 property tax revenue. So our current rate is 0.001368, which generates $2,082,977,000 in property tax revenue. The new property tax rate proposed is 0.002517, which is approximately 84% increase, which again generates that additional $1,749,001. So there's that one. And then, so that's just the presentation. I just have to present this every time that we talk about the budget for 2020.
Okay.
So that's that.
But as everyone can tell, that's not where we're at.
Correct. So
Yeah.
this is the one that was presented with the tentative budget that was first presented at our first May 6th meeting. We've since had discussions amending and revising that. But so now when I present the interim budget at our first meeting in June, I'll have a new proposed property tax impact schedule with the revised amount that is reflective to what that interim budget shows. So yes, this at this point in time is extremely outdated, but
But we have to do it.
yes,
Truth and taxation.
yes.
Yes.
Do we have to pass the resolution today? Can we wait until we table this till the June 3rd meeting so we know exactly what we're voting on?
Yes. So I put a.
Yes, that's what I
Yes,
see
so
on there.
you
I just wanted to
can,
make
you
sure that.
can table it until June 3rd. We just have to adopt our tentative budget before we adopt the interim budget. So we need to figure out what we're doing. So we have to adopt the interim budget before June 30th.
Okay.
Okay, so we have to adopt the tentative budget, whether you're gonna give direction for us to follow the truth and taxation process or give direction for us to completely deny that and adopt a budget by June 30th. Does that make sense? So it's two separate things.
Right.
Yeah, and then if we go through the truth and taxation process, moving forward with the tax increase, we will have we'll have a public hearing to adopt an interim budget. And then we'll have another additional public hearing for truth and taxation specifically in August, discussing just the property tax increase. So that would be held in August and then decided on at that point.
And we have to have that note regardless of what the number is that we're increasing it. We're gonna have to have that here.
Yeah, any increase
We'll be that
requires
covered.
that, yes.
So it'll just be interim until we get to the August.
Correct, so that's why we would have to adopt an interim budget, because our fiscal year begins July 1, so we have to have some budget to operate on until we go through. And then depending on what would then be decided in August, we would then adopt a final budget before September 1st. So. It's very fun.
Yeah. So do we need to table item 11 then? Is that the best course of
That is
action?
up to you guys.
Okay. I'll let somebody on the council make that decision then.
Mayor, I move to table resolution 2026-37 to the June 3rd city council meeting.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Yes. So motion by Councilmember Butler, a second by Councilmember Thomas, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll table item 11. And need a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, I
Oh,
motion
do
that
we
we
want to
adjourn
do
this
council
meeting.
reports?
Oh.
I thought I put it on the agenda.
We
and it's
don't
not
have
an
it on the
action item.
agenda, so.
Yeah.
The only thing
Next
for my
time.
council report is just what Grant
Just
said
do
tonight.
your
Do the
survey.
survey. Everybody, please do the survey because they are really on me. No, I think it'll be an easy survey. I'm really proud of Grantsville for getting 74. They said
That's awesome.
They said it was like,
I was one of those, sorry.
thank you, thank you. I actually haven't done it yet, but they would like that information, so.
I also think The public needs to know the reason we rescheduled this meeting. Wednesday is graduation. You have two members on this council that have kids graduating, and we have one councilman that's flying out tonight, so
We wouldn't have had a quorum.
we wouldn't have had a quorum. We had to reschedule the meeting. Also, Memorial Day is the next weekend. We didn't have any other days to do that, so please know that, world.
No other reason.
Yep,
Sorry.
the only reason.
My daughter, blame it on my daughter.
And thank you all to the members of the public that are here. We appreciate it.
Did we
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Yeah, I second.
All in favor?
Thank you. You can remember we had done that. Yeah.